Hey guys, it's Pope. I just got done training and I just got a haircut finally for the first time in like literally years. Feeling a little bit dainty today with my new do. Today I want to talk a bit about cutting weight for meets and some things that I have learned from doing things the wrong way and things I have now benefited from doing things in a better way. And I want to pass along this information and try to help as many people out there as I can. This can be applicable to weightlifters and powerlifters that are actually cutting weight to make a certain weight class, but it can also be beneficial to those just trying to lose weight in general as a part of your fitness journey. If you don't already know this, I competed in the 58 kilogram weight class in 2015. I started out as a 63 and then moved down to the 58s pretty quickly. And I competed as a 58 for a solid year. I for sure made the mistake of cutting weight too many times for too many meets. I did not really realize the impact it has on your body in a negative way. I was only seeing the positives in that I was increasing my total, I was climbing the ranks in the 58s and qualifying to nationals, qualifying to the American Open, and trying to place and get medals at those meets and not really recognize what it was doing to my body in the process, trying to force myself to that certain weigh-in over and over and over. My last meet at the 2015 Nationals in the 58s was a very, very unpleasant experience. I was extremely stressed out about making weight and I did not make it the first time I stepped on the scale and was having to do all kind of crazy things like jumping up and down and doing handstands naked in front of the weigh-in officials. They were helping me like with these tactics having to do with how your blood is dispersed in your body, and finally got that 57.99 to show up on the scale. That is what you do not want. You don't want that kind of stress leading into what would be maybe your biggest meet of the year. That is exactly opposite of how you want to be feeling before you step on the stage, having dealt with that huge stressor before you go try to lift the most weight you've ever lifted. Definite no-no there. So I feel like I learned that lesson of cutting weight too many times the hard way in 58 kilo weight class because I decided I'm done forcing my body to this weight and I'm gonna go up to the 63s, thinking that it would take me a while to mass up to the 63 weight class. It took me 2 days. Literally, I gained over, I believe it was 14 pounds in 2 days because I had been restricting my body for so long for that entire year, trying to stay within a few kilos of the 58s. And as soon as I ate, not even a lot more, just a little bit more than what I had been consuming, I immediately stored all kinds of fat and my body was just very unhealthy at that time. It took me a solid year to regain what I felt was a healthy metabolism level, my hormones balanced out again, and just feeling good again. And that was my first year back in the 63s in 2016. So I took the time eating at a calorie level that was still not very high because my metabolism was pretty wrecked from all of those weight cuts, but just keeping consistent with it, keeping a bit higher fat intake so that my hormones would balance out again, and eventually finding a nice balance again with my body, weighing in around 64 to 65. So that's kind of where I was floating throughout my career as a 63, just a couple kilos over, not having too hard of a time to cut to make weight, but still having to bring myself into a calorie deficit, and it still would take a toll on my body to make weight. So I learned to only make weight at the competitions that mattered to me. These are the competitions where A, you're trying to qualify to something. If you are approaching the deadline for, say, University Nationals or Senior Nationals or the American Open Series that you really want to compete at, and there's some meaning behind it to you, I feel like that's the number one reason to make weight. Don't cut to a certain weight class if the meet doesn't mean anything to you. If you're just competing in a local meet for fun, if it's your first time competing, do not cut weight. Focus on lifting the weights. Don't focus on the weight of your body if it doesn't matter. Another time where it would matter is if you're chasing medals. If I have the opportunity to compete in 2 different weight classes and I'm going to place the same in either weight class and there's not a lot riding on it, I would choose to weigh in the heavier weight class, get the platform experience, shoot for some new PRs, and just have fun lifting weights, focus on my lifts, not focus on cutting. You can see that example for me at the 2017 American Open. Coming off of a back injury, I knew I was not in medal contention, so I decided to compete up in the 69 kilo weight class because I was going to end up placing about the same with the numbers that I was lifting at the time. I was not in medal contention, and it just wouldn't mean a lot to me to be a 63 versus be a 69. My goal in that meet was to have a positive experience with weightlifting, enjoy myself on the platform, and make a total. That doesn't have anything to do with my competitors, how I stack up against anyone else. Therefore, my weight class also did not matter. And I think these things are not thought about by a lot of weightlifters, especially a lot of newer weightlifters. And I think you could apply that also to the powerlifting world. Flash forward a few months to the American Open Series 1, also known as the Arnold. There was a lot riding on this meet for me. Number 1, I wanted to set myself up for a chance to be on the Pan American team. Only way I was going to do that was to be a 63. I have no chance in the 69. So I needed to be a 63 to be considered for the team. Second reason, because this was a Pan American qualifier, so many of the top level lifters were attending, so medals were also important to me. I ended up placing 4th, but still that was very high up in contention for medals among the best in the country of the 63s. And even one that was an international lifter, not even an American. So it was a very high level competition. Focusing on placing was another goal of mine as well. And lastly, I was trying to increase my ranking as a 63. And that is something that affects being looked at for future teams and is just one of my goals, to be one of the top lifters in the country. So I have to compete in the weight class where I am competitive. So at the Arnold, there was a lot of reasons why I would want to cut down to that weight class. So I chose it as one of the handful of times I'm going to be cutting weight for the year. So for me, I've found that making weight around 3 to 5 times a year is about my maximum. I am going to try to do it maybe 4 times this year, one being already in the past at the Arnold, and the next I plan on competing at 63 will be at the national championships. The takeaways from what my overall message is that make sure that you're not just cutting weight to a certain weight class just to be in that weight class just to say that you did it. Make sure you have reasons and goals to back it up. Otherwise, you should compete a little bit heavy and keep working towards those bigger goals down the road without putting your body through that cutting process. I also want to talk about how I made weight for the Arnold. I am a flexible dieting coach, I am a sports nutrition specialist, and I coach myself along with all of the clients that I coach. Help make weight for several of those girls. I also had 2 male competitors at the Arnold as well. And everyone had successful weigh-ins, and I want to go about explaining a little bit of my process for this particular cut because it was very successful. From the time that I came back from my back injury through the American Open in December, I made sure I was eating in a surplus. I was eating tons of food. 1, because I needed to get my strength back, and secondly, I think that it aided in my healing process to have a bit extra calories to help my body speed things along with repairing some of the tissue damage in my erectors. So I tried to eat in a surplus through the American Open, and at that time I was weighing in like 66.5. I was pretty thick, but just embracing it, knowing that that was a great time period for me to get stronger, and I did hit a competition clean and jerk PR at that time. So that was a great experience and great feedback that what I was doing with my diet to gain my strength back was working. From there on, I spent another solid month after the American Open in a surplus while I was training super high volume, doing 10s on the squats, tons and tons of pulls, triples on the classic lifts of snatch and clean and jerk. So I tried to keep my calories very high then. And I was noticing my composition start to change at that point, but staying still in the 65, 66 range. I did a video during that time where I actually put 2 inches on my quads. So that was huge gain of muscle during that time period. Once I started dropping down the reps, once Colin was changing my programming to doing less volume and less squat intensive style workouts, I was able to bring my calories down super slow. I didn't do a huge calorie reduction to start losing weight. I brought it down just little increments each week, and it paid off really well. I got down to about 64.5 very easily about 4 weeks out, and just tried to hold steady at that calorie range that got me there. I believe I reduced from about 2,200 calories a day when I was at my heaviest down to about 1,800 calories a day where I was maintaining the 64 kilo range, and I just kind of held strong there. Those final 2 weeks dialing things in right before the Arnold, I believe my macros were at 45 fat, 180 carbs, and 125 protein. And I was still feeling very energetic and still able to keep pushing really hard at that time. Hit those training PRs, so I know dipping into a bit further deficit didn't affect my strength at all because it wasn't for a long period of time. There were a few days where I would get super hungry and a little bit dizzy, and that was kind of my cue to tell myself that I needed a refeed day. I think that's the biggest challenge I have with coaching myself, is knowing when I need a refeed, not just when I want a refeed day. So the week of the competition, I was weighing in only about 0.8 kilogram overweight, and the day of the meet, I woke up still 0.8 over, 63.8, but I had until 4:30 p.m., so I was able to drop a little bit throughout the day, and I did need to do a sweat bath. So I sweat out about 1 pound of water weight to make weight, and ended up hitting the weigh-in at 62.96, so that was a spot-on weigh-in, and I felt amazing. Keeping the calories high for as long as possible and training heavy was the key for me, because when I was bringing myself down into that deficit, I got a great response from it. Now, if I was trying to stay super lean year-round, I wouldn't have been able to drop the weight easily like that. I think it's very important to spend time periods at those higher calorie ranges and even carrying a little bit of extra weight while you're trying to grow new muscle mass and get those squat numbers to go up and get the clean and jerk numbers to go up. You need food. Food is fuel. I can show you guys kind of a comparison of where I was at starting out near the American Open and where I finished up at with my body composition changes at the Arnold. Huge change in my body, and I'm proud of the work that I put in. I was very disciplined the entire time, and it really paid off. If you're looking for guidance or coaching with nutrition, I do offer that through my company, Barbells and Bows, and you can check out the website. I will overlay it right here. So be sure and check out the website. There's all kinds of information on everything to do with the program there. In training today, I did some volume work on front squats. I had 6s at 93 kilos. And then a bunch of snatches from the blocks. I did powers, a lot of doubles. I'm doing those EMOM style right now, every minute on the minute, working on some conditioning, just getting my body in good shape again for the lifts, and just building some momentum right now, really, with all of the volume I'm doing. And I'm enjoying training. It's going well. I love the work part of this time period in training, so I'm having fun with it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful or informative, please give it a thumbs up. You can share it with whoever you want. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.